Hi, I'm Christina Stanley, CEO of Fictionary. In this video, we're going to answer the question, is each scene in your novel described effectively? Then I'm going to show you how to evaluate a scene looking at the description. You're asking yourself the question, are my scenes described effectively, and how do I know? At this point in your revision process, you've checked every scene for an opening hook and type. You have revision choices to make. You can rewrite the opening hook and update the opening type if needed on a per scene basis, or continue evaluating each scene for the next set of story elements. If you watch the video, does my scene start in the right place? I marked the scene entry hook for this scene as being weak because I end this paragraph with, making it to NASA before dark shouldn't be a problem. I've chosen to update the opening hook before I check if the scene is described effectively. Let's take a look at that. This is the updated version. The bolded text shows my updates. I'm not focusing on prose just yet. I want my story to be tight first. Let's look at how to answer the question, are my scenes described effectively? The plot and the setting tabs on the evaluate page help you with evaluating the scene. And we'll look at, is my scene anchored? Under the setting tab, we'll look at the various elements. To orient the reader in every scene, check if the scene is anchored. In this novel, I anchor every chapter with who has the point of view. So in this case, it's Shannon. I'm going to click point of view is anchored. If we read through this, it's not really clear of the timing of the scene in the context of the story. The timing is clear that they're sailing during the day, but that's about it. So I'm going to leave scene time marked as unanchored. And the scene setting is Yellow Banks in the Bahamas, so I'll mark that setting. So here I know right away I have some work to do. If you as the author know the location, but it doesn't come across in the scene, add the location on the setting tab, but don't click setting beside anchored. So you would leave it like this. Let's go to the setting tab. So the location here is it's on a dog's cat in the Yellow Banks. The Yellow Banks is first mentioned in scene 22. Use the story map at the end of the scene by scene revision and look for scenes where location is used for the first time. So here I'll select none, and then I'm just going to look at locations. Now you can see I haven't filled most of this out. The Yellow Banks are first mentioned in scene 22. So I'll go back to that scene and check my description. That means clicking the evaluate page. On the evaluate page, I'll scroll down to scene 22. And here, I don't actually want to do my work right now, so I'm going to check the box to come back here. And I put a note, check description of Yellow Banks. This is the first time it's used, and it's needed again in scene 43. Now I want to go back to scene 43 and continue my evaluation. To bring emotion into the scene, use the story element emotional impact. Ask yourself, is the location the best place for the emotional impact? If the answer is yes, use the setting elements to describe the location. If the answer is no, choose a new location and revise the scenes. In my case, I've put Yellow Banks because they're in shallow waters and could hit a reef and sink. Use the object story element to list important objects, especially those that will be used later in the story. For example, I've highlighted dog's harness here just so you can see that it's in here. List each of the senses used in the scene. When you list them, check if they're described through the point of view character's perspective. In this scene, I've listed sights, sounds, and touch. When you find the senses, you can look for filtering, and I've bolded one sentence with filtering. But she heard the crunch when the hull scraped over the coral. So heard the crunch is filtering, and I know I'm going to come back and rewrite that part. Leave the senses empty if it's not used. The story map will come in handy when you're reviewing how senses were used overall in the story. The other sense that needs improving in my scene is touch. So here, the impact knocked Shannon off her feet. She landed on her back on the trampoline. Well, what did she feel when she fell? Did it hurt? Did it not hurt? This is a large section of revision to cover, so take your time. You may find you repeat this step as you improve your writing skills.